Okay, so what if I told you that a single number, decided by a very small group of people, could dictate the cost of your mortgage, your car loan, and even the health of the entire economy? Well, that number is the interest rate, and the folks pulling the levers are at the central bank. Today, we're going to dive into their incredibly high-stakes balancing act.
All right, so why should you actually care about a rate set by a bank you're probably never going to walk into? Because that one decision, it ripples out, and believe me, it hits your wallet directly. It's the invisible force that determines what you pay for a house, for a car, and what your savings account actually earns you. This is where all that big picture economic stuff gets personal, real fast. So who are these powerful and, let's be honest, kind of mysterious guardians of our economy? Let's get into it.
The simplest way to think about it is this. A central bank is basically the bank for banks. You and me, we use our regular commercial bank. But where does that bank go when it needs to borrow? It goes to the central bank. Its job is huge, managing all the money in the country and, crucially, acting as the ultimate financial firefighter when a crisis hits.
And wow, their to-do list, it's just massive. Think about it. They're trying to keep prices stable, get people into jobs, and prevent the entire financial system from just collapsing. And they're doing it all at the same time. It's this incredible high-wire act where one tiny misstep can have massive consequences for all of us.
Okay, so to pull off this crazy balancing act, they have a whole toolbox of policies. But there's one tool that's way more powerful than all the others combined. You could really think of it as the master control lever for the entire economy.
And that master lever, it's the benchmark interest rate. The absolute best way to understand its power is to picture the economy as a car. The interest rate is both the gas pedal and the brake. Simple as that. If you need to speed things up, you hit the gas. If things are getting a little too wild, a little too hot, you tap the brakes. It's supposed to be that straightforward.
So what is this rate, really? In a nutshell, it's the interest rate the central bank charges your bank for a short-term loan. And from that one single rate, you get this massive ripple effect. It basically sets the baseline for every other interest rate out there. Your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card, everything. It really is the foundation for the whole system.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how is this supposed to work in practice? Let's walk through the classic textbook moves a central bank uses to steer the whole ship. All right, let's take scenario one. The economy is running hot, too hot. Prices are going up and up, inflation. So the central bank decides it's time to hit the brakes. They raise that benchmark rate. Suddenly, it's more expensive for everyone to borrow money. So what happens? People spend a little less. Businesses maybe hold off on that new expansion. And that slowdown in spending, that's what cools things off and gets inflation under control. That's the plan, anyway. Now, what about the flip side? Let's say the economy is sluggish. Maybe it's in a slump. Well, then they slam on the gas pedal. They lower the interest rate, making it way cheaper to borrow money. The idea is that businesses will see those cheap loans and think, hey, now's the time to expand, and people will be more likely to buy a new car or a house. All that new spending is supposed to kickstart the economy. I mean, on paper, it makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, but as you've probably guessed by now, the real world is a lot messier than a textbook. And that simple little gas and brake model, it can lead to some seriously unexpected consequences.
Which leads us to the really big question here. Does just flipping this master switch always work like it's supposed to? And the answer, more and more, seems to be a big no. Sometimes you hit the gas and the car actually starts to stall. It's wild.
Okay, so this is where it gets really weird. The whole point of cutting rates is to get the economy going, right? But what can happen is it actually weakens the country's currency. And a weaker currency means all the stuff we buy from other countries gets more expensive. And guess what that is? It's inflation, the very thing they're sometimes trying to fight. And it gets even stranger. Big long-term investors might see that rate cut and think, uh-oh, the central bank is worried. Inflation must be coming. So they start demanding higher interest rates on long-term loans to protect themselves. It's the complete opposite of what was supposed to happen.
The big thing to remember here is that central banks aren't operating in some kind of perfect laboratory. A simple rate cut can make global investors pull their money out of the country, which can tank the currency. And the psychology of the market is just massive. I mean, if enough powerful investors believe inflation is coming, the things they do to protect themselves can actually create that inflation. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And on top of all that, you've got the government doing its own thing, spending and borrowing, which can push rates in a totally different direction.
So, all of this, it brings us to the main point. This isn't just about flipping a switch. It's an incredibly delicate, super high-stakes balancing act. And this right here is the dilemma they face literally every single day. If they raise rates to fight off inflation, they could accidentally push the economy into a recession. That's a huge risk. But if they cut rates to help with growth, they might just pour fuel on the inflation fire. And even their job as the lender of last resort, saving banks that get into trouble, can have a downside. It might actually encourage other banks to be more reckless, thinking, hey, we'll just get bailed out too. There are just no easy answers here.
At the end of the day, this quote just nails it perfectly. The challenge is steering the economy between growth and inflation, knowing that the map doesn't always match the territory. They have a plan, but the real world, it doesn't always follow the rules.
And that leaves us with a really big, critical question for all of our futures. If the main tool they have, this master lever, can actually backfire and do the opposite of what's intended, what does that mean for managing our economies going forward? Honestly, that is the multi-trillion-dollar question that everyone's trying to figure out right now.